Pinelands Report. I am Heidi Ye, Policy Director of the Pinelands Preservation Alliance. So 34 years ago, this organization was founded to advocate for the Pine Barrens, which is a unique ecosystem in New Jersey. PPA has grown from that time from what was strictly an environmental watchdog group to the multifaceted organization of today. And we have initiatives that encourage sustainable farming, native landscaping, and increasing the accessibility of public lands to people of all abilities. So during today's press conference, we will hear from PPA staff on various themes of our work, some from their desks and some reporting live from the field, including Wharton State Forest, a rain garden in Evesham Township, and Rancocas Creek Farm, which is on PPA's headquarters in Southampton Township. They will comment on the history that shaped our present moment in the Pinelands, PPA's role in all of it, and what the future may hold. So to start things off, I will hand things over to Dr. Mike Klein, our Director of Government Relations, for his comments on the Pinelands Commission.
Thanks so much, Heidi, and good morning, everyone. I'm our Director of Government Relations, and our core work, something I work on really closely, is ensuring that the Pinelands Commission enforces the comprehensive management plan that remains as important as it's ever been over our 35-year history. And as Governor Murphy completes his second term, and as New Jersey prepares to elect its next governor, PPA is going to continue to advocate for strong environmental advocates on the Pinelands Commission. The governor appoints 7 of the 15 members to the commission, and the commission is only as strong as its members and the certainty of their service. 4 of the commissioners are serving on expired terms, and there's another commissioner's term that's set to expire on June 28th of this year. There's one particularly important seat on the commission that's been glaringly vacant since the passing of Ed Lloyd in August of 2023. Ed served on the commission for almost 22 years, using his expertise in environmental law to improve the comprehensive management plan on issues like residential development, stormwater management, and solar energy facilities. The loss of this fierce environmental advocate has left a gaping hole in the commission, and we're working closely with the governor's office, along with our environmental allies, to fill Ed's seat with someone equal to his stature, expertise, and his commitment to the preservation of the Pinelands. And leadership at the local level is equally important to the stewardship of the Pinelands. And unfortunately, the Pinelands Municipal Council is effectively defunct. The bi-monthly conference of Pinelands mayors and representatives has not met since September of 2022. We are working together with the Pinelands Commission to try to find a way to convene municipal leaders representing communities in the Pinelands on a regular basis. So let me now introduce my wonderful colleague, Sean Holland, who's our Access, Nature, and Disability Advocate.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Sean Kane Holland. I'm the Access, Nature, Disability Advocate with Pinelands Preservation Alliance. And our organization has expanded our local nature accessible for all project for equity, inclusion, and accessibility to a statewide project, which is now entitled Nature Accessible for All, which was really funded through a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grant. And we have partners with Rutgers Blaustein School, the Division of Disability Services, and then also, which we had received our initial grant with the IHC program, the Inclusive Healthy Communities program. But we have been working towards making outdoor spaces, more accessible. One main goal that we have is to work with the disability community to assist land managers at the state, local, nonprofit levels in developing accessible trail systems and other outdoor passive recreational opportunities. We're looking to work with the disability community and land managers, organizations, volunteer organizations to complete site evaluations and help us develop plans for implementation of best practices and trail designs. Second, we are also establishing inclusive programs. We have been working with a nonprofit organization, Ocean Positive, to lead workshops to provide safety and best practice techniques for leading these inclusive programs. We have Pinelands Adventures, our outdoor education delivery service, which we are now offering some inclusive programs with wheelchairs that we have available for loan. Third, and very important to our effort, is we've established a public forum, the Access Nature Forum, where we can have people with disabilities and individuals with disabilities, their allies and organizations at state and local levels, private organizations, to talk about dialogue and concerns from getting out into the nature and also just regulatory reforms, and to overachieve these or overcome these barriers and achieve our goal of making outdoor spaces accessible. Furthermore, we've established an access nature map that is populated with nature sites with detailed information, so folks can go out and learn about nature sites with accessible features. Currently, there's 45 sites identified with this map with over 80 miles of trails. We're working with other trail organizations and disability community to help us identify more sites and populate this map. DEP currently on their website, they mentioned that there are over 4,500 miles of trails mapped. So you can see there is a great disparity between the accessible trails and the total amount of trails. So we're looking to advance more accessible spaces here in New Jersey. Thank you. I'm going to now turn it over to Stephen Elliott, our Director of Watershed, or I'm sorry, over to Jason Powell, I'm sorry, Land Steward.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. And I'm here out in the middle of the state's largest state forest, Wharton State Forest. And this year has really been a banner year for public land in the Pine Barrens. We've protected over 900 acres of land from unwise development. 268 acres has gone into a new public preserve known as the Pomona Woods Preserve. And today I'm out at a really special habitat site in Wharton State Forest. And this is a place, it's an intermittent pond that was created by glacial wind over 14,000 years ago. Today, it's an important site for amphibians, for rare plants. You can hear some of the leopard frogs in the background. A bald eagle just flew over. And this is a site that was actually being really critically damaged by off-road vehicles. But we went in, we protected the site. And since that time, since 2015, we've been advocating for a sensible travel management plan, a visitor use map for the state forest, which would protect habitat sites like these. So just this past December, the DEP, New Jersey State Parks and Forests, released the Wharton State Forest Visitor Use Plan. And this has designated where it is and where it is not appropriate to use motor vehicles in the state forest. And that's critical because we want to protect endangered species sites like this, places that are beautiful, pristine, and should remain that way for generations to come. This is really a special place we have here in New Jersey. And I personally find it heartening that the Park Service has finally taken the care that it deserves in protecting these really amazing places. I know some of you have probably been out here, if not this specific pond, places like it with me on tours in the past. And I think in the future, we can bring more folks out into the Pine Barrens and show them what an important place it is for our state. With that, I want to introduce Stephen Elliott, and I think he's on location as well.
Thank you, Jason, and good morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Elliott. I'm the Director of Watershed Programs for Pinelands Preservation, as well as the Association for New Jersey Environmental Commission. Shifting gears from our preserved lands to the human-built environment, I'm joining you from the Blue Barn Recreation Center in Evesham Township. Here, as part of the Landscape Makeover Program, we have installed multiple projects that highlight the sort of middle ground in the land use that is needed for a sustainable future. While this rain garden behind me may not look like much right now, in just a few weeks, you'll see blue flag iris, followed by swamp milkweed, purple coneflower, and other native perennials. As winter subsides and flowers bloom, these small gardens will provide havens for invertebrates that are in decline, largely due to loss of habitat. Humans have tended to prefer tidy turf lawn areas that go mostly unused and which provide no ecological benefits, but the tides are changing. Not only are these gardens supporting our vital insects, they are also acting like natural sponges, capturing stormwater runoff from surrounding impervious surfaces that would otherwise flow into the Barton Run, which is just a few hundred yards behind me, carrying with it sediment, excess nutrients, and other contaminants which would impair the stream. Filtrate into the groundwater table over the next scale or in greater quantity. These types of rain gardens, as well as other green stormwater infrastructure practices, can also reduce the volume of water entering our stormwater systems and local waterways, thereby reducing some flooding. As you can see behind me, and I'll kind of get up here so you can see. So this is also the site of the town's community garden, which obviously requires water throughout the spring and summer months. To help fulfill that need, we installed, and I'm just going to switch my camera over real quick. We installed a 3,000 gallon cistern, capturing runoff from the roof of the building and using a filtration system. Local gardeners can use the system to water their fruits, vegetables, and flowers. Just this past Saturday, we provided 20 free rain barrels, which are essentially just smaller versions of the cistern, to Evesham residents as part of an additional Sustainable Jersey grant partnership with the township. Since starting the program in 2017, we have worked with municipalities and homeowners to install over 100 green infrastructure projects throughout South Jersey. By converting just 6,000 square feet of lawn area into rain gardens last year, we are now capturing and naturally treating over 250,000 gallons of stormwater runoff annually. Our program continues to expand. Recent grant funding from the Department of Environmental Protection has allowed us to partner with the Highlands Coalition, and together we will focus on addressing runoff that can cause harmful algal blooms in lakes within the Highlands and the Pinelands. As more people are inspired to support our native wildlife in their communities, we will continue to grow our partnerships throughout the state and collectively build a safer and more sustainable future for all of New Jersey's life forms. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jeff Tober, our Rancocas Creek Farm Manager.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rancocas Creek Farm here in Southampton, Burlington County. We're just starting our 6th farm season on the 72-acre preserve farm. It's adjacent to the headquarters of the Pinelands Preservation Alliance. And for many decades, it was in conventionally grown soybeans. And we started in 2020 to transform this farm to a chemical-free production and a farm that accomplishes a few goals. One, obviously, is growing high yields of quality produce, food for people, and in a way that's economically sustainable. So we have about 350 families who come to the farm every week to get fresh chemical-free produce. And we also sell to restaurants, caterers, wholesale, and we provide produce for those in need through the Farmers Against Hunger program. In addition, our goal is to really increase the vitality of the habitats on the farm. So in 2020, we put in a 3-acre native grassland that helps absorb stormwater and also sequesters CO2, as well as provide much needed habitat for birds and pollinators. Along those lines, we got funding from the federal government, the NRCS program, to put in a 2-acre monarch-themed butterfly meadow on the northwest corner of the property. We seeded that, seeds that we got locally through Pinelands Nursery in December. So hopefully this year that's going to be a beautiful, viable native meadow. This farm, we also put in stormwater management area. Historically, there's been a lot of flooding from this property into the town of Vincenttown. And in 2020, we got a grant from the Watershed Institute, and volunteers planted over 1,200 native trees and shrubs to help absorb stormwater and, of course, also provide other things to the farm: windbreak, habitat for birds and pollinators, and again, sequestering of CO2 into the soil. So we want to show that you can grow a lot of food without using chemicals a farm can also be a place that invites pollinators, birds, beneficial insects. When we have birders who come here to the farm, because we have so many amazing species of birds that visit our various habitats. So, you know, a farm can employ a lot of people, grow a lot of food, and can also really benefit New Jersey's habitat. We're not in the Pinelands, but we're right on the northwest border of the Pinelands. And this kind of sustainable farming is happening throughout the state. There's a lot of promise for agriculture in New Jersey. There's also increased funding to preserve farmland. There's a new formula from the state that's going to take effect April 7th. So farms who are maybe on the fence about preserving their farms through the state program, they're going to get probably better financial offers and incentive to preserve their farms in perpetuity starting next month, which is very exciting, especially as we face increased development pressures, especially from warehouse construction, which has been happening pretty rampantly in Burlington County and other counties in the state. So preserving the farmland now, and also maybe you can see behind me, we have farm apprentices who today's their first day. They'll be working here all year, learning how to farm sustainably, as I took an apprenticeship in Massachusetts many years ago to learn how to manage a farm enterprise. So we have bees here, we have Asian pears. We're trying to plant not just annual crops, but perennial crops that require less tillage. And really the key, as we have more challenges from climate change, we had an incredible drought last year. We got about a half an inch of rain in 90 days, which was really unfathomable. Building resilient, healthy soils that are better able to withstand these extreme weather events, be it droughts, extreme heat events, flooding. The healthier your soils, the better off your farm's going to be long term. So that's the goal here at Rancocas Creek Farm.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks to the team. I'm Jacqueline Rhodes. I am the new executive director here at Pinelands Preservation Alliance. And so in summary today, I'll be closing out and highlighting, again, why is all of this important? And we've been covering the state of the Pinelands now for several years. This is our 35th year as an organization, as Heidi had indicated. And we wanted to take a step back to look at all the activities and actions that have been taking place for so long, because it really goes to show having dedicated organizations, dedicated activists, as well as politicians, and the list goes on, in order to truly make a difference. And so many of these issues that we cover today are things that we work on day in and day out, and we can't let up, right? Having good Pinelands commissioners, you know, we get new governors and new county executives that are responsible for filling those seats. And so we have to keep saying the same message over and over again. Why is this place important? And we're also seeing, obviously, threats to all of our environmental protections coming down from the Trump administration. And although we have strong protections here in the Pinelands that will provide some safeguards, we are already seeing some of those threats. For example, U.S. Army Corps was directed to fast track review of more than 600 applications to destroy wetlands potentially in New Jersey. Well, 600 nationwide, but 5 in particular in New Jersey. There's also been a hold on funds for the National Wild and Scenic River Program. And there are 2 wild and scenic rivers in the Pinelands. These are just a fraction, like 3 decimal points of a percent as it relates to the budget, yet they're being put on hold for all the great work that exists in this region. And there are going to be more examples, unfortunately. And of course, as you just heard from Jeff from the field, who Sorry, Rachel. I think he's still pinned as a speaker, so people can see that as a background, just FYI. At least that's what I could see. Noted that climate change is obviously a big threat. To go almost 90 days with very little rainfall, and that wasn't just a one-time, one-off. We know droughts can happen, but we're seeing year in and year out dramatic changes to our climate. And yet we have a federal administration now that completely denies it. They have completely blocked and now have reversed wind projects and instead pushing for offshore oil drilling, which is by far more detrimental to our economy, to our people, and to our environment. So we really need to see action. Our work as an organization will continue to push forward. We will continue to make sure that we hold all these agencies accountable, because the state of the Pinelands really relies upon those activities. It relies on the people and it relies on the work that we're doing. So we've made great progress over the 35 years, being able to see the Pinelands still intact today, almost as it was back then, to be able to start transforming our urban landscapes with rain gardens and urban food plots is amazing. And to be able to see a fully functioning, intact Pinelands Commission is obviously incredible and needed, especially in this time. So with that said, we would love to take any questions that reporters might have. And of course, you will be getting a copy of the press release for today, where you can gather more information. So thank you all for joining us, and we will turn it over to you.
Yeah, hi, this is John Hurdle from New Jersey Spotlight.
Hi, John.
Hi. Excuse me. So I've got a couple of questions here. Firstly, you devoted a whole chapter of the report to climate change, but I'm not clear on exactly what you're hoping, what actions you think should be taken by the Pinelands Commission or anyone else to offset, to kind of protect the Pinelands from the effects of climate change.
It's a great question, John. We do have a white paper which outlines some very specific directions that we'd like to see the Pinelands Commission take. In addition, we were really hoping that the Climate Change Committee that had existed now for a couple years through the Pinelands Commission would have been the avenue for providing more additional recommendations, but that since has been dissolved into the Policy Implementation Committee. So our more immediate recommendation is to have a more formal committee, even if it's outside of, but still part of or supporting the Pinelands Commission is absolutely essential. An important component of the white paper, excuse me, includes looking at what would it mean to have no net loss of trees in the Pinelands? Because obviously that's a very immediate, important action that can help address climate change, among other things that we have outlined it there. And Heidi or Mike, if you have anything to add, please feel free.
Yeah, thanks, Jacqueline. I would add at the statewide level, we've been advocating very strongly for the Department of Environmental Protection's rules that we hope are adopted certainly no later than the deadline of this August.
New Jersey Pact.
Yeah, NJ Pact REAL, REAL. Forgive me for not remembering what the acronym stands for, but our main concern within that many, many pages of regulations, proposed regulations at this point, have very sensible rules that are very rigorously science-based, looking at New Jersey's sea level rise, which is much more dangerous than just about anywhere else in the United States. And as the seas rise, it causes much more stormwater damage throughout the state. And as that salt water backs up into the aquifer within the Pinelands, it's going to destroy trees and the beautiful landscape that we've got, and it's going to further endanger the endangered species that live there. So there's our immediate focus is always the Pinelands Commission, but we work really closely with advocates statewide to get the Department of Environmental Protection to adopt rules like that address climate change.
And we are supportive of efforts to codify the goal of 100% clean energy by 2035. So we are very disappointed by setbacks that occurred recently with offshore winds and other forms of renewable energy from the federal level.
Okay, thank you. I've got two other questions. Can I ask those now? Is that all right?
Sure, we have time.
The PPA's obviously been fighting the problem of off-road vehicle access in the Pinelands for many years. Are you now satisfied with the DEP's map for accessing Wharton State Forest by off-road vehicles?
Yes, and I'll let Jason take that if he can.
Yeah, please.
Yes, from my perspective, and of course, I not only work here, but I've also, have lived my whole life here. Of many, generations of my family that have lived here. To me, it balances the need to use vehicles to access some of these special places, like the one I'm in right now, and the need to protect areas. So we want to bring people into the forest in a way they feel safe, secure, and they can, reliably get to where they're going. But places like these, we need to make sure that they're not too vulnerable because of the proliferation of these off-road vehicles and the intent of use, which is actually to destroy habitat. So we need to let, just regular citizens access the forest in a safe, sustainable, and reliable way. And we need to protect these places. So I think the current map, which is actually very close to the historic, the first map ever issued for the state forest, actually achieves that balance quite well. And I think, overall, it's been very well received. And yeah, overall, it's just a big win.
So Jason,
clear,
is the new map working? I mean,
Yeah. So it's still it's underway, right? So the implementation is still underway. From what I've seen in specific areas that have been targeted for protection, like this, it has been working. Time will tell more in the summer because that's when pressure increases as far as off-road vehicles. But so far, so good, I would say.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, and I have one other question for any of you, and that is, in the report, you talk about in the beginning, you talked about what you called an onslaught of political interference on behalf of developers seeking to develop parts of the Pinelands, and I'm not clear what you meant by that. Can you give us any details, please?
Sure. I mean, the Pinelands is not immune to political interference. I mean, we've had over its history, different appointments put in specifically to approve projects. I mean, the South Jersey Gas Pipeline is a classic example of that, where, the commission originally voted against it, and then, of course, certain people in charge at the time removed those commissioners and put new people in order to approve it. Now, that being the classic example, we don't necessarily have something happening every single year where that takes place. But even at the local level, where you have political interference, phone calls being made for very specific development projects, even if you're talking about a local planning board or, county commission getting involved there. So that's the type of political interference that we're talking about. So we're not immune to these interruptions, even, regardless of political affiliation associated with it. And Jason, if you want to add anything else to that.
Sure. I mean, the biggest example we saw of this was during the South Jersey Gas Pipeline fight, and that's why it's so important that we fill seats like Ed Lloyd's, because he has been a consistent voice until his passing. So we need people like that not only understand the rules but care about the place, and that's what can, be the circuit breaker when, political winds start changing.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John, for your question. And I really want to highlight that the Wharton map is about motorized access. That, essentially what we're looking at here is giving people access and respecting people's access to these places. And we have to respect all people's uses, not just certain individuals.
Yep.
All right, other questions?
Yeah, hi. This is Michael Warren, also a Spotlight. I just have two brief ones. Um, the first is related to the farm operation. It sounded like you guys had gotten some funding from USDA, DA, and RCS for some conservation work. Has there been any issue with that funding or concerns about that funding going forward? I know I saw some folks from the local NRCS be impacted by the layoffs. Has that trickled down to you all?
Jeff, did you hear that?
Yeah, great question. Concern, yes. I do know we have a office up here in Columbus that has employees for NRCS, Farm Service Agency, Soil Conservation District, a bunch of resources that farmers like us really value and utilize and would hate to see go away. We are in the middle of a 5-year grant called the Conservation Stewardship Program, which covers things like the monarch meadow that I mentioned, as well as year-to-year stuff like composting, cover cropping, using mulches, planting buffers, pollinator strips, things like that. So far, I believe that funding is still intact. I mean, we started that grant a few years ago, but talking to other farmers, there is a lot of concern about programs from USDA, NRCS, across the board, funding programs that it's not just the money, it's technical assistance. It's a lot of the resources that these folks at the government provide to us, networking, workshops, resources. It's a lot. And, we're very proud to have a partnership with NRCS. And I would hate to see any of those programs or funding go away.
I would just add that for us, the funding freeze hit us for a little bit. Since then, we've been given the go-ahead for those funds to be released for some of the projects, immediately from USDA. But we know many partner organizations, obviously, that are impacted right now, not only from the USDA, but also National Fish and Wildlife Foundation because of funding that they received through the Del River Watershed Program, among other things. So it's a tough time all around. And it's amazing that projects that directly provide us food locally would be subject to such changes. But, that's the state of our environment and political landscape these days.
Yeah. Just one other for me, also related to federal actions. You mentioned the Army Corps review of wetlands projects being asked to speed that up. It sounded like it was 600 nationwide and 5 in New Jersey, if I heard that correct.
Yes.
Is there any particular project of those in New Jersey that you guys are watching that you are more concerned about?
Mike, if you want to add to this, but I feel like this is new information, so we have yet to dig into it a little bit further in terms of what kind of impact the Army Corps can have in light of our New Jersey protections, and it depends upon location. So that's still to be determined. But Mike, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, thanks, Jacqueline, and good morning, Michael. One of them is not, we actually would have supported, which had to do with an offshore wind project, and with that being shut down through the president's executive orders, as Jacqueline mentioned earlier, that's probably not anything that the Corps is going to look at. There's one that I'm interested in that's in Cumberland County. It's got to do with Atlantic Electric, and I frankly don't know if it's how detrimental it may be. But it's I'm trying to get some more details. It looks like it's a maybe a transfer station that they were working on. And they had it planned for quite a while. So and it seems to be, if it's not within the Pinelands, it's certainly adjacent to it. So that's the one that's got my attention just because of where it's located. I'm happy to give you the list if you'd like where the others are located. The majority of the 5 are more northeast New Jersey, Bergen County, I think Hudson County. Obviously we're concerned as environmental advocates, but the one that's right within our region in Cumberland is the one that got my attention.
Got it. Thank you. And yeah, if it's possible to share that list around, I'd be curious to look at it.
Yeah, it's an Army Corps Excel sheet that is many, many, many pages long. You're welcome to it. Search for New Jersey, you'll find them.
Thanks, Mike and Mike. Other questions? Going once, going twice. If you do, and you're on mute, please unmute. Otherwise, that completes our press conference for today. Thank you to our reporters for attending. We had posted in the chat, if you did not notice, some updates, including the climate change white paper, an event that's taking place at our headquarters on April 12th and 13th. And you should be receiving the press release today as well. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Signing off.